So I want to talk to you about arm injuries, and you went on the top step. You talked about it because there's a surge in them, and it was really interesting because you talked about Bieber and Yuri Perez. Of course, those are two of the main ones that just recently took place. And you're like everybody else, whether it's a former pitcher or a broadcaster, even Jeff Passan did a really beautiful investigation on it. You can't really nail it down to one thing as to why these guys have an uptick in injury. But just like you said, like the game's changing, the velocity's up there, the specialty pitches are insane. So, but you believe it's only going to get worse. So why is that?
Because look at all right, so Skeens burst onto the scene just the other day, and he's a big...
You're not allowed to talk about, before we preface this, you're not allowed to talk about Mason Miller in this segment. Got it?
Oh, yeah.
Not allowed.
You got it.
Not allowed.
No problem. No problem at all.
He's off limit.
Well, I'll say it in a good way. Now, you look at Skeens, the way he's built, right, and the way he throws the ball and everything else. He can, and again, knock on wood, and same with Miller. Miller seems to be pretty switched on with everything he's doing, which is a good thing. But, it's one of these ones where, first of all, these pitchers now, I'm not going to say they're smarter in regards to the way they pitch, but they are way more tuned into how can I unlock, if I throw, let's say I throw 93, 94, how can I now unlock a 97, 98? And then how can I now unlock this breaking ball, which is 5 times better than the one I had in college? Because of just the use of information, whether it's, there's some guru in their system or it's a YouTube video, right? And then that trickles down to that 15, 16-year-old. I work with kids all the time. 15, 16-year-olds can go online, and I'm telling you right now, they can figure out ways that if they've got 2 months and they have a radar gun, even a pocket radar, and they set it up and they start getting some numbers where it turns from an 82s to 86s, that's just going to make their curiosity grow larger, and it's just going to make them sit there and zombie scroll through every YouTube video and figure out ways to throw harder. And that's stimulating. I know for me, when I started throwing harder, even as I was older, and I mentioned Shane Bieber because he's older, right? So he's got a more of a bigger risk factor in regards to injury because he's doing things that he spent the last 26 years doing. He's going to be doing them differently. And so that's not going to change, right? The bar has raised so high now where guys can unlock information from a population standpoint of pitches, and they're all just going to throw way harder. The fact now that I'm as I'm saying this, I am going to talk about one thing which is coming back into trend, which is good too. But the fact that pitchers now can go shorter outings, like managers when they had that opener craze a couple of years ago, and now like the Boston Red Sox, innings per start, and they're having success because they're just throwing nothing but like a pie, like a basically, their pie chart of pitch usage is completely even. They're throwing the same amount of breaking balls as they do as a fastball. When you throw a breaking ball, it puts way more stress on you because it is not a natural way to get an object from point A to point B. Yeah. If you're throwing a spear back in the day, you want to your body naturally gets to a position where it uses the ground force to throw a ball. So when you throw a fastball, it's a primal instinct your body says, all right, this is how I naturally want to move through space to throw a ball as hard as I can. You throw a breaking ball, you have to manipulate. The minute you manipulate, you put more stress on your body. Therefore, the more you manipulate, obviously some of these guys throw 55, 60% breaking balls now. Man, the stress factor, and you're trying to throw that thing max effort because everyone talks about, okay, breaking ball, more movement's better. It's not. More velocity is better now. The harder breaking balls are better. Everyone knows that. So now all of a sudden you're throwing that thing max effort. I spoke to Bryce Miller just the other day on my show, and he said, man, he goes like, I started to fade because I was throwing certain pitches at max effort. I've never done that before, right? And so I think that the pitch usage, the pitch usage part of this, Justin Dunn, another example, he was with the Mariners. They said, hey, we have to change your usage. And he just faded. Like he went and hit the IL. He's never thrown that many breaking balls in his life, right? So the pitch usage has completely changed. It used to be establish your fastball and then everything kind of, you keep your secondary pitches in your back pocket. Now it's like, no, I'm going to throw a breaking ball in a 2-1 count. Like, it's so different. The pitch usage, I think, is the biggest one. The other part is the other factor I was thinking about as well too, and I didn't mention this. Now they've got these guys in AA and AAA minor leagues. The schedule's changed. So AAA, as you know, they got the one off day a week. So all these guys are pitching once a week, right? Once every 7 days in AA, AAA. And they're in a situation where they can, curb their usage and everything else. Then they get to the big leagues. It's one every 5th day. And then you got these, like the Mariners are in this stretch right now. They got no off days coming up forever. Like 2 off days in May. And so pitchers get to the big leagues. Your adrenaline's pumping through you. You're Shane Bieber even, and you're trying to get back to that level. You're trying to, get back to what the kids are doing these days. You're also
trying to get on the same level as the other guys that are up there too.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So
okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's so. Your recovery is just no chance. Like there's so many different factors. I just think that from a youth standpoint, it's not attractive to recover. It's not attractive to go through. They all do that. By the way, and nothing against Driveline. But the recovery routine is so like stock standard. It's like the 3 sets of 10 bench press at the gym. Like, if that makes sense. The recovery program for a lot of these kids, the way they generate velocity and the depth they go to do different things, it's amazing. It's like I'm looking at a 16-year-old going, man, how do you know that? How do you know how to that's the thing? But when you get to recovery, they just do the same routine every single day. So it's not stimulating. Like, you don't see that radar gun flash up on you. But the recovery part is so important. Now, I try and tell kids that all the time, but they just don't do it. And so when that becomes trendy for kids, fair enough. The other thing is too, look, I'm just talking on the youth side here. I don't mean to drag this out. But the travel ball, the amount of these kids from when they're 14 on, they're or year round, max effort in November at some travel ball tournament. There's no way, like, that's great. It's going to take its toll at some point. Your arm is just like at some point just going to cop the brunt of it. Then all of a sudden they get to a stage where the games really, really count. They go to college and guess what? These games count. These games matter because you're trying to win. Then you go to pro ball, you're trying to keep it. So it's just at some point you're just going to break down. And the other part is too, the teams are like, okay, we've got 10 kids, 2 of them work out, great. And that's business. That's how it works. Because if I'm in AA and a team tells me, look, you have a really high chance of breaking down here, but we're going to unlock this breaking ball. I'm not talking about just throwing hard. I'm talking about breaking ball, usage and everything. You start throwing this sweeper and you throw it 60% of the time, Ryan, there's a really good chance it's going to start hurting. But you're going to do this, you got a chance to get into the big leagues. I don't care. I'm doing it. Like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes. There's so many different factors too, Jess. The other thing is the arm path. When you watch guys now, they've got this short, quick, efficient arm path. They throw way harder. There's way more spin on the ball because they're accelerating through release differently. There's way more pronation when they're throwing pitches, like whether it be changeup or a sinker and everything else. But when you do that, when you manipulate your arm path, your timing's off at release, and when all that ground force gets up to your arm. So there's so many different little factors. I think that the number one step, if you do, the reason it's not going to get worse is because travel ball exists. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
So all these 15, 16-year-olds who are going to be future big leaguers, it's just going to be Tommy John City, like same as it is now, but it's just surging. It's just too much money. That you combine the fact that kids now know how to unlock from a YouTube video all this velocity training, which is great. Go throw 100. I'm all for it. You're not going to. They all know how to do that now. They have access to it. They're playing travel ball year round. Once they get to a stage that you got 1,000 kids pitching, a lot more of them are going to cop the TJ or any of that. Plus, they're going to be asked to throw breaking balls at 60% of the time as well. Puts more stress. So many things. I don't mean to keep banging on, but
no, I think this is important.